Hi everybody, this is Asra and today I'll present our work titled Hartal Happens Here Every Day, Understanding Impact of Disruption on Education in Kashmir on behalf of my other co-authors Divyanshu Kumar Singh and Pushpendra Singh at IIIT Delhi. Education is considered fundamental to human development. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4 focuses to promote inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning opportunities for all. However, regions with ongoing socio-political conflicts suffer disruptions to education and learning. Our work is situated in Jammu and Kashmir region in India, particularly Kashmir, which continues to face ongoing socio-political disruption and insurgency for almost 3 decades. Due to the decades of conflict, education in Kashmir has observed a direct impact on children's education since 90s. Schools and colleges have remained closed for months due to the unrest caused by disruption that have affected the educational system. In 2019, after the revocation of Article 370 on August 5, at least 1.5 million Kashmiri students remained out of school for 202 days. This problem is further compounded by the indefinite internet and communication blackouts, thus exposing the weaknesses in the educational ecosystem, which has failed to absorb the adversarial shocks, especially for internet use. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic has worsened the scenario. Research in HCI and CSEW has explored the use of technology for education in both resourced as well as under-resourced contexts. For example, designing language learning applications, MOOCs, social robots, virtual reality-based learning experiences, and more to assist students as well as teachers. There also exists prior work in HCI and CSEW in the field of crisis informatics that studies disruptions primarily focusing on natural calamities and disasters. Work in crisis informatics has explored the relationship between technology and socio-political disruptions. For example, designing and understanding the use of technologies for healthcare experience, use of technology in daily life, or refugee technology. However, the challenges and experiences in conflict affected contexts such as Kashmir are materially different and do not generalize uniformly with what is already cited in the HCI and CSEW for other geographical and cultural contexts. For this work, we sought to understand the following research questions. How do students, parents, and informal educational spaces support and continue education during disruptions? What are the different technologies used to impart education, and how are they used during ongoing disruptions? For this study, we partnered with an organization, Chinar International, that has been working for more than 10 years with under-resourced communities in Kashmir, primarily in rural settings. We conducted multiple field visits and conducted 21 semi-structured interviews with parents, teachers, students, and members of Chinar International, which run these community learning centers in Kashmir. These centers are spread across multiple districts in Kashmir and they aim to continue providing learning at the primary level during disruptions in Kashmir. We explore diverse perspectives to understand all stakeholders' contextual, cultural, and technological challenges regarding continuing education with CLC. We collected data in the form of audio notes, field notes, photographs, and video recordings with prior permission from the participants. Audio recordings were translated and transcribed to English as necessary for analysis. We then subjected the data transcripts to iterative and inductive analysis using open coding and thematic analysis. Through our analysis, we highlight our findings in three significant themes. One is the impact of disruption in daily life and education. We observed that one of the striking outcomes of the disruption was the worsened economic condition of the communities. This directly had an impact on the education of the children and the academic infrastructure. We also observed it had instilled and embedded fear, trauma, and compromised the mental health conditions within the communities. This slide has two quotes from two of our participants that explain the impact of disruption on the economic and educational infrastructure. Second, we observe the role of community learning centers emerging as repair infrastructures in overcoming the learning barriers within these contextual constraints. These centers have emerged during the crisis to continue learning activities within the communities where students do not have to travel outside the locality during the crisis. This model of CLC has instilled hope and faith among the students and parents. Also, one of the important accomplishments of CLCs was building a strong foundation among the students that students lacked before joining these centers. And technologies like WhatsApp were commonly used for communication between parents and students, and other applications like YouTube, Telegram, and Facebook were also used for communication and education related purposes. Finally, we observed that the use, perception, and challenges with the technology. Through our findings, we identified that the devices were shared within the families and communities, which is already talked about in the literature. We also identified that technology is deeply integrated with the socio-cultural values of families and individuals. There are strong concerns and fear about the children's use of mobile phones, especially the internet. Main concerns are associated with the unintended harms of technology as a tool that could potentially introduce children to the unsafe or insurgency side of technological use. Also, gender in technology use is seen to have a different interplay at home. Their daughters are not allowed to use technology, and if allowed, it has to be under vigilance. As one of the participants compared the phone to a sword and explained its socio-cultural implications on girls using the devices. On the other side, technology was also seen as a necessary and useful tool for teachers, students, and organization members. But the current uncertain circumstances of the context makes it challenging to use the technology at its best capabilities because of the government imposed shutdowns on the communication channels, especially the internet. We also observed that the other barriers that limit the use of technology to its maximum capacity is the nature of the current platforms like YouTube, Google being English centric, and the absence of educational content as per the syllabus and books in Kashmir from these platforms. Drawing from our findings, we discuss implications for HCI in three directions. Design within uncertainties. One of the core insights drawn from our findings is the prevalence of uncertainty in both socio-political and technological infrastructure. The basic assumption of many system designs, such as access to fast internet or even low bandwidth internet, is challenged every day in conflict affected regions. From our findings, we unpack the complexities within our context. We recommend HCI researchers to design within uncertainties. It implies that researchers, policymakers, designers, engineers should either embed uncertainties into their design or acknowledge the uncertainties beyond their design. Sorden et al. Suggested two modes in which HCI can treat uncertainties, generative and structural. Taking the concept of uncertainty being generative, further, we are not only arguing for embracing the uncertainty to better design systems, but also to embed and contextualize it as a platform to design in conflict. We provide two possible design orientations that may help us design interventions. To make technology more useful for our participants, A is human techno infrastructure as a disconnected mode. The resources like human infrastructures could be leveraged in the design. We recommend that when the standalone systems fail to work within the existing infrastructures due to such uncertain events, designers should integrate disconnected mode as a default option into their socio-technical systems, and the other being operationalizing libraries and caching. Secondly, our data presents a three-layered relationship between trust and perception of using mobile tech devices within the communities. Scientific or health issues, socio-politically shaped safety issues, and socio-culturally shaped community expectations. For issues that are scientific or health related, we recommend involving health experts in the solution loop, such as workshop-based methods within communities, as also noted by Kumar et al., could be helpful to mitigate the problem of embedding lack of trust in the usage of technology based on health concerns. For socio-politically shaped safety issues, we propose the idea of infrastructuring trust, that is to not only take security design to the community, but also integrating transparency and literacy of security vulnerabilities, leveraging local resources and knowledge. And for the socio-culturally shaped community expectations, we recommend that HCI research could work with balancing advocacy with the nuances of society and the context. Also, leveraging intermediary organizations, trust and design strategies should also be communicated to parents. Finally, our findings demonstrate major barriers to accessing good quality education content. Students struggled with things like English as a barrier and lack of means or medium to access the relevant materials. Prior research has highlighted the importance of designing and delivering the content in local languages. In our context, we recommend that HCI researchers and designers could leverage the existing human infrastructure, such as local teachers, as familiarity with the language is one of the foundational requirements to establish a dialogue between a teacher and a student, as is argued by Paul Fryer. For the lack of means or medium to access the relevant materials conveniently, we recommend that HCI research would involve the experienced teachers at CLCs to generate the locally relevant video-supported educational repositories and also sustain the conversations and preserve the resources shared on WhatsApp for sustainable solutions. We also highlight the need to support offline search and access to relevant content and provide it at low cost. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of the authors.